Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Coffee with Katie. Got a cold brew concentrate. I have a fan on because it's really hot in here and I already had to turn off the air conditioning to film. So, you hear that? That's what it is. So today's video is going to be my June reading wrap up. You know how this goes. We're just going to be talking about all of the books that I read in June. So let's just get into it. I did go a little rogue with my TBR, so some of these may come as a surprise. Part of it was like overlap of different months and when I was able to obtain the books, so whatever, but here we go. The first book that I read in June was Tapestry of Fate by Shannon Chakraborty. This is The Adventures of Amina Al-Sarafi Book 2. This is one of my most anticipated releases of the year, and I was so excited that it was coming out, and then I got my hands on it really quickly, and I read it and loved it. Spoiler, not really, but I loved it. It was so good. I think I enjoyed the first book more because it's much more like funny and seafaring adventure. This one has more danger, more tension, darker themes, and sinister sorcery. So it's a very different vibe than the first one. I still really loved going on an adventure with Amina and the crew, but this one has a tone of sadness throughout. And it kind of takes a minute for the story to really get going and for you to like see the pieces come together. But once it does and you see the mystery start to unravel, it gets faster and really interesting and scary. The cliffhanger should be criminal though. I remember thinking to myself, tragedy is about to befall us, and then it kind of does, but then it kind of also gets resolved a little bit, and I remember thinking, that's suspicious. But maybe it was just like a jump scare, who knows? And then the cliffhanger ending. And the unresolved problem of the anyway. Unresolved problem, cliffhanger, tragedy. It was hard. But I hope I don't have to wait as long for the third book, since I think I waited 2 to 3 years for this one. So I'm hoping that's not the case. I'm hoping she wraps it up shortly. But while it was emotionally turbulent at the end, I did really like it. Like I said, this has a different feel and vibe. The pacing is also, I would say, slower because the first one is so adventurous and funny, and it's like she's gathering her crew and then they're starting their mission, and then it's a really dangerous mission and there's like a kraken. In this one, it's more, they already have the crew, but they kind of gather them. Something goes awry and they have to find one of their crew members, and then they start their voyage. Like at the beginning, there's a lot of like family dynamic of you keep saying that it's like one more time, but then you keep going out. So there's like an element of that to it. And then her crew being her family and thinking like eventually something bad is going to happen to these people. And some stuff does happen in this book, and it's not all like rainbows and unicorns, you know? So this one is more, they're dealing with more of their interpersonal relationships as the crew or as her family. And they have to come to terms with a lot of stuff and face a lot of things. Raksh is back for a little bit. It's kind of, I actually enjoyed that. He played an interesting role in this one. But this one is a lot more, like I said, sinister and devious in a way where it's a slow moving villain in the sense that it's like very mind sorcery manipulation instead of this big monster that you have to fight. It makes it scarier and kind of darker. And it's a different kind of pacing, it's a different kind of vibe and setting. So it was still very, very good. I gave it 5 stars, but it's a very different feel, and I am desperate to know how we're going to tie everything together in book 3, but I love this series so far. Both books have been 5 stars for me, so I hope the ending does not disappoint. And then I read The Dark Lord's Guide to Dating and Other War Crimes by Tiffany Hunt. I had a weird relationship with this book. I started it in May, thought I would finish it really quickly, kind of like put it down to start something else, and then picked it back up and finished it. I liked the beginning of this book a lot. I guess for this one I should tell you what it's about, but essentially it says a conflicted villain and his unstoppable bride from the realm's most chaotic alliance in the riotously funny, dark romantasy, perfect for fans of Assistant to the Villain, but darker and spicier. Step 1, kidnap someone cute. Step 2, force her into marriage. Step 3, try not to catch feelings. Basically, the Dark Lord kidnaps Lady Arabella and forces her hand in marriage, and he expects like her to be terrified of him and obedient, and she's not. She has this like heroic bloodline that's important to the story and for him, and that's why he chose her. But they end up kind of forming a tenuous alliance because there's a lot of other political and maneuvers and games at play, and it kind of goes from there. So I liked the beginning of this book a lot. I was like, ooh, this is fun. I really like this. This is got a good pace. This is interesting. I like the dynamics. But then it just kind of started fading for me. But I felt like the book was too long without furthering the plot. So I felt like it was an 18-hour long audiobook, and I felt like for how long it was, not enough was happening. And it was just kind of like, and it wasn't even like a slow burn or like a really developing of the relationship, because I also thought the characters got together too fast. So I'm not really sure what was going on, but I felt like it was too long, and it could have been a lot shorter, and we would have had the same story. And I feel like they didn't really get to the crux of the issue until towards the end of the book, the last like few hours of the book. So I wish that had been sooner, and we had gotten more of like the plot and where the story was going to go. But I did enjoy the main characters and the side characters. The side characters were a lot of fun. There were some humorous elements that I liked that were thrown in there, and the magic was really cool. I just wanted it to be more, and I kind of got bored because I felt like it was too long with not enough happening. And with that type of a book, I don't expect it to be very long. I expect it to be kind of short, at least for the first one, but she does already have book 2 coming out, so maybe it was just like already set up. Like I said, it just felt kind of long. I'm curious about the second book with the ending that did happen. And hopefully a lot more will pop off in book 2, but it was kind of meh for me. I ended up settling on giving it 4 stars because I did really like the beginning and I enjoyed the end, but the middle got a little bit lackluster for me, and I was starting to lose interest, which is why I put it down for a bit. So it was kind of disappointing, but also I thought parts of it were really fun and good. My best friend ended up reading it. Like, I had already started reading it, had been reading it for a while when she picked it up, and she read it really quickly, and she loved it. She gave it 5 stars. So I would say give it a shot, and hopefully it works for you if it sounds like something you would like. But the name alone was so funny. And I did like the story, so it's not like I hated it, but it was just something missing for me. And then, a breath of fresh air after I read those 2 books was Wanted, A Roommate Who Isn't Evil by Jennifer Kropf. This is book 3 in the High Court of the Coffee Bean. And I've mentioned this series many times on this channel. I've talked about Welcome to Fae Cafe a lot because I love it. And I also really enjoyed this book. It was still so fun. Still very lovable and fun. And this one you're following Drainian. He's trying to find a roommate to sign on the lease with his apartment because he can't really afford it by himself. And he's only working part-time at the coffee shop now. So he needs somebody to help him pay the rent. And his landlord helps him find somebody to pay the rent. But it is Luke, the nine-tailed fox from book 2, that is their enemy. And they're now, without realizing it, they're bound to this lease because neither of them realized who the other roommate was. And it becomes this, like, feud because they're like, it's an unbreakable contract in their heads. They're like, there's no possible way we can break this human contract. It's like magic. So we're just gonna antagonize each other until the other one breaks it. And it's just really funny. But it also gets deep and dangerous later on, as her books do. But I loved this one also. I gave it 4 stars, but it was such a fun, quick read. It's like a 6-hour audiobook, so I literally finished this in a day. I went to the pool, like in a 24-hour period. I went to the pool on one of the days I was able to go, and I just listened to like so much of it while I was just laying out. It was a magical time. So still very lovable and fun, these books. Luke has a redeeming arc, which is really cool. And we get more of Drainian because each book follows a different one of the 4 assassins. So I liked getting Drainian. I didn't think I was going to like him, but I liked him a lot more than I thought I would. And I'm worried for Shane. Shane is one of my favorites of the 4, but he's the next book. And I'm excited to see what happens in the next book with Lily and Shane and their kind of story that was set up in this one. But the roommate feud, so funny. And the dog parts, hilarious. I loved it. There's one part where he like gets a dog because Luke hates dogs. I just really want people to read and enjoy this series, and it makes me a little bit irritated that people don't. But read it! It's so good and funny. Anyway, 4 stars. I also read The Fourfold Gospel by E.B. Simpson. This is like a very small caveat that I'm just throwing in here because I did read it. I was reading it for a program that I'm studying for, so yep. And then, last but not least, because while I was reading Empire Storms by Sarah J. Maas, I did not finish it technically in June. So, the last book that I read in June was Too Fast to Fall by Karen Booth. This is book 2 in the Fast Track series, but they're all like standalones. This is an F1 racing novel. And in this one you're following Emilio, who is an F1 race car driver, and he has a dog named Gus. And it's this like mischievous golden retriever. And he is a menace to like anyone that watches the dog. He always escapes, he runs away, he just causes a lot of havoc. And he's trying to find somebody to watch his dog while he's racing. Dog sitter, dog nanny kind of a thing. And then Piper, who's a big F1 racing fan, works for a dog sitting company. So she kind of walks and sits lots of dogs and babysits lots of dogs. And she gets called as an emergency because the last dog sitter quit. And so she gets called as an emergency to watch Gus during this race, and it ends up going super, super well, and Gus loves her. So Emilio immediately offers her to be his stay-in dog nanny through the rest of his like races for a couple months to see how it goes, and she agrees because it's a stupid ton of money, and he's offering her to live with him in London. So she accepts and goes on this like a little adventure that she's never really done before and never really lived far from home. And the story kind of goes from there, and it's a little contemporary romance. It's cute. I think the story was okay. It was kind of cute, nothing special. I liked that it was a race car driving like romance. I haven't read one of those before. The dog POV was funny. There's literally like little POVs like in between some of the chapters of the dog, Gus, and it's funny, but they're also kind of weird. But I appreciated the creativity the author had. Liked that the dynamic was race car driver and dog sitter, just like two opposite kind of on the spectrum of careers. I also appreciated that she was using her career as a dog walker, as a dog sitter, because I would want to do that. It's fine. Nothing really captured my interest so much where I was really like invested in the story, but I liked it. It was fine. I ended up giving it 3 stars, nothing crazy. It was also a NetGalley audiobook, so I was reviewing it. So it was fine. Nothing special. Nothing bad. Cute little romance, but I was almost like in a slump, it felt like. So it was just fun. Yeah. Those are the books that I was able to finish in June. I would love to know what your favorite read of June was, if you want to leave it in a comment down below. But for now, that is it for today's video. Please like this video if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and I will see you next time. Stay safe and caffeinated. Bye.